Good afternoon and welcome to the results show for Class E1 Post-War Grand Tourers 1945 to 1959. My name's Jeff Love, I'm the co-chair of the Concours. To my right is David Lillywhite, who's also co-chair, and joining us is the head judge of the Concours, Dave Kinney, who's also the chief judge of this particular class. Good to see you, Dave.
Good to be here.
Concours Virtual is presented by Haggerty and is in aid of UNICEF. And this particular class is sponsored by our friends at Happy Few Racing. These guys put together some amazing rallies, particularly for fathers and sons, fathers and daughters, and they rally in Europe, and they're great to have them on board. So, David, over to you first. Tell us about the people's vote in this particular class.
So, for the readers' votes, we have some great results again, lots and lots of votes in, and I'll start straight away. Third place, we have the 1947 Tatra T87. This belongs to James Kelly, an amazing car, 3-litre V8, rear-engined. It's been fully restored, really quite, it's very rare, but it's really quite special as well. And it's kind of not your obvious choice almost, but it's a brilliant choice. It's absolutely right. Second place, and this was very, very close between first and second. Second place, 1950 Aston Martin 2-litre Sports, which retrospectively is known as the DB1. So when the DB2 came out, people started to say, right, this first Aston Martin can be called DB1. They reckon 15 were made. There were probably 9 left as far as people can work out. And this one is used a hell of a lot. It's we see it at a lot of UK shows. It belongs to Alan Southwood. So congratulations, Alan. Really good result. And in first place, we have the 1953 Ferrari 250 Europa Vignale. There were quite a few really, really special early Ferraris in this. And this is one of the very first Ferrari road cars with the 3-litre V12 that sort of carried on for the next few years. It's last year it won the Swiss Concours d'Elegance and the Las Vegas Concours d'Elegance. Belongs to Kevin Cogan. So congratulations, Kevin. First place in the readers' vote. Thank you. I'll hand back to Jeff.
Thank you, David. Yeah, really special car, the Ferrari 250. And it's no surprise really to see Ferraris in the on the podium for this particular class. And, there were six Ferraris in the class, alongside quite a few UK Aston Martins, Jaguars, Bentleys, a lot of Italian cars, but they were all European, so no American Grand Tourers in the class at all. So, taking the class then, the Grand Tourers 1945 to 1959. It was a big class, 20 cars in total, and it originally started as a single post-war Grand Tourers class, but we had so many great cars and so many people wanting to be part of this, we had to split it. So this is the first of the 2 Grand Touring classes. The second comes later in the Concours, and that's for 1960 to 1969 cars. But Dave Kinney, over to you. Tell us about how the judges went about judging this particular class.
Well, we had a really good qualified group of judges, and we had some, I'm going to say, surprising results. We had some cars that rose to the top immediately, and we had some discussion back and forth about what would be our second, third, and we even made a fourth choice. But it was interesting because there were so many Ferraris. Unfortunately, they split the class. And even though we had lots of people interested in 1 or 2, we actually had 5 different Ferraris receive votes. But because they were split, and that's just the way it works sometimes, even in a major concours on name your favorite avenue. Because of the split vote, there's a decision that unfortunately tends to eliminate all cars, and that's what happened here. So if you want to announce, or you want me to give the 3, 2, 1?
Happy for you to go 3, 2, 1, David.
Okay. Winning in a class of very unusual and occasionally one-off cars, our third place prize went to Lancia. You are more familiar with that car, Jeff. You want to tell the viewers about it?
It's a really interesting car. It's owned by a friend of ours, actually, someone we know very well, David Barsley in the UK. But what's really interesting about it, it was fully restored over the last 2 years by apprentices. So people who are learning the trade at CMC. And so it's a great story. And it's interesting to see it's a relatively volume produced car to come at third in this class.
Yeah, we had some people who really, really appreciated it for obviously its design and its innovation. I guess the first V6 car, among other things. So it's interesting that it was able to rise above and bring in the third. So our second choice was a 300 SL Roadster. I think a lot of people in our class agreed very, very early on that the 300 SL was very deserving. Everyone should go. I can't tell the story. We don't have enough time. Everyone should go and take a look at the backstory on this car. It was actually owned by a very famous race car driver. And it was basically used kind of maybe for public relations, you might say, by Mercedes. It was used by this gentleman well after his career was over. And so it has a great early history. The first year of its life was basically a car that lived the life of a bon vivant. And what's wrong with that?
Excellent.
And then our first choice, and this was actually an overwhelming choice, was for the 1955 Bentley Continental. Everyone agrees that for Grand Touring, the actual the design, the concept, the entire idea behind a Bentley Continental was that of Grand Touring. It was called a Continental because it was a car that you could leave London, take the steamboat overnight, wind up in France, and drive for half the day and go to other parts of France, Germany, wherever, down to Italy, down to the Amalfi Coast or whatever, and you would be comfortable and you could do it very fast. And this is a 4-passenger car, so room for everyone and luggage. I guess early on everybody decided this was the definition of a Grand Tour. And since that's part of the class, that's where we wound up. I love the choice. I love the Bentley Continental. I was, basically a fan from the beginning myself. But I just think it's very, very interesting that we had 6 fantastic Ferraris. And because there were 6, none of them rose to the top. So happy to see that one did in People's Choice.
Great. Thank you very much, Dave. Yeah, as you say, perhaps a little surprising not to see a Ferrari in the mix there, but three great cars. And I have to say, what better car is there to turn up to the Casino Square in Monte Carlo than in a R-Type Continental? And it's such a great car as well, isn't it?
Yes, it is. This is one of those things where we had other Bentleys in the class. A lot of discussion went on with that as well. It could be just the presence and the color, midnight blue, of this car made it so that it was, slipping through the night, after leaving the ferry and going in through the continent. It could have been that romance that got our juices flowing. So very excited for all the entries. There were no bad entries in here. I love the fact that the Tatra, which was my secret choice for one of the awards. So happy that it got it. That the Tatra got it. An engineering marvel. Another car that shouldn't exist but does. A lovely choice. I love the fact that the People's Choice was a completely different set of cars in this case, and very deservedly so.
Yeah, I think 6 great cars there, and there were many of those cars which could have risen to the top, and you wouldn't have been able to argue with them as well. It was a really competitive class, wasn't it? And some
Absolutely.
great across the board.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you very much. So just to confirm then, in third place was the 1954 Lancia Aurelia, owned by David Barsley. In second place, the 1958 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Roadster, owned by Chris Kramer. And in first place, the 1955 Bentley Continental R-Type Fastback, owned by Bruce Mail. So well done, Bruce. Your car will now be going through to the Best in Show, which will be announced on the 9th of August. Between now and then, there's still a few classes still to be announced. So please keep coming back to the show. And remember, this is in aid of UNICEF. So if you can, then please give generously. It's a really important appeal. They're trying to raise £1.3 billion for the coronavirus pandemic and the work that they do for children in difficulties throughout the world. So thank you very much. Enjoy the show. Thanks, David, and thanks, Dave.